Hey there, I wanted to give a quick update at the start of this episode because I think it's been a couple years since I posted any videos to this channel, and a lot has changed since then. So I've moved on from Canon. I tried several Fuji cameras that I loved, but slowly that led me to try actual 35mm film. So recently, I've been really having a good time shooting with the Olympus OM system. I have an OM-1 and an OM-10 and trying different kinds of film. So I'm planning on posting a couple more videos about trying different kinds of film. I have a couple different film cameras also. I was also going to do a couple videos with trips where I brought Fuji cameras with me as well. China, Japan, some other cool stuff. So if that sounds like something you'd like to watch, you'd be interested in seeing how the pictures turn out, I hope you stick around and watch the next couple videos and maybe you'll learn something with me. So in this first episode, we are going to Seattle. We visited some of our good friends out there, and I brought, hold on one second. I brought my OM-1N, hope you can see that, and I brought my 50mm f1.4 lens. I only had two lenses at that point. This was the first, one of the first film cameras I got. And all the pictures were taken on Fujifilm Superia 400. I was just trying to shoot everything on the same film so that I could get a consistent look and see how I liked the film. I had shot it before, but I think this was my first trip where I shot only Superia, so I could really tell the difference compared to something like Portra. All right, let's take a look at some photos. So this is the view from Alki Beach. It's across the water from the Space Needle, and you get a really nice view of the skyline of Seattle. There's also some pretty good tacos, and you can bike around. There's some cool stuff to do. We also did the obligatory visit to the Chihuly Glass Garden, or whatever it's called, and walked around the Space Needle. Our friends also took us to the bluffs at Ebby's Landing State Park, facing Puget Sound, north of Seattle, and it was kind of awesome. I got some great shots, we did some hiking, it was beautiful weather. The greens in the Fuji film really popped, but you can tell in the shadows they can get muddy and a little bit green if they're underexposed at all. On our way to our Airbnb, we stopped by Deception Pass, I think it was called. It was this awesome bridge, and we just sat there for a while watching boats go by. It was beautiful. I'm really liking the blues and the teals I got from the film on these shots. So we eventually got to our Airbnb cabin on Kamano Island, not sure how to say it, and it was pretty cool. It had like a gas fireplace and no other heat source, and pretty open to nature for a house, I guess. But by the time the sun was setting, there was this gorgeous sunset where the light you can see was bouncing everywhere off the water. I think there was mist coming off the water that was catching the golden color. I was going crazy because it was the most beautiful sunset I've ever seen, and I'm so glad I got to capture it on film because it really looked much better on film than it did on the iPhone. I think you can see in some of the videos compared to the colors in the film. The iPhone footage really just looked kind of pale yellow, but the film pictures were beautiful. I think it's actually the best sunset I've taken pictures of. Alright, so I hope those were interesting for you to look at. I was really happy with how a lot of them turned out. You may have noticed a couple asterisks on some of the images. And I forgot to mention, I also brought my Lomo LCA Plus, I think it's called, which is it had a lot of promise, but I'm still not the biggest fan. I'm not sure. So this is what it looks like, and you slide this open, lens pops open, now you can shoot. It has a tiny viewfinder. I got, I think this is a VF1 external viewfinder. That's not Lomography, it's some other brand, but it's much better. It is a 32 millimeter f2.8, maybe a 32 millimeter. It has zone focusing by a tab on the side, which is pretty awesome. My problem with it is that it's a plastic lens, and to be honest, it's kind of garbage. It's pretty soft at all apertures, even if you stop it down. When you try to focus an infinity, it's still soft, which makes no sense. The edges have pretty bad, they have vignetting, they have distortion. If someone's face is off to the side, they look twice as fat. That made a lot of pictures that I took of people very unflattering, so I couldn't use them. I think you could like wrestle with them in Lightroom to make them look a little better, but I just don't feel like doing that. So it was convenient that I had a wider lens though, because my Olympus only had a 50 millimeter. This was a 32. So when I got back from the trip, the things that I changed were I ended up getting a 35 millimeter f2.8 Olympus lens, which is not the fastest lens, but in film photography, I've really found that I have trouble focusing at f1.4, so I usually stop down a bit anyways, often to even f4. Even for portraits, I think that's good because if you shoot too wide open, half of their face is out of focus. So I usually shoot at f2.8 or f4 at the widest. So 35 f2.8 actually was fine. And you may notice I got this other body, the Olympus OM-10. Now the OM-10, for me, is just easier to use. You pick your ISO and it picks your shutter speed for you. It's basically like you're shooting an aperture priority all the time. You can get a manual adapter if you want to shoot in full manual, but I already have a full manual OM1, so for me, I wanted it to make my life easier. I wanted it so that I can pick my ISO, I can pick my aperture, I can zone focus at 3 meters, f11, and then it'll pick the shutter speed, and then I can use it as a point and shoot if I want, and then I can swap to a 50 millimeter f1.4 if I want to. So overall, that was still one of my favorite sunset shots, even if it was shot on this guy when I was talking about how bad its lens is. Sometimes it was just about the light being beautiful and crazy and golden light bouncing everywhere, and it didn't even matter what camera I took a picture with. I did like the film results much better than my iPhone results. I don't actually know if I have that somewhere, but I guess you have the video to take a look at from the iPhone, where it really didn't quite pick up the same colors and the same dynamic range. So it's one of those things that I think this trip, which was in 2018 by the way, really helped me realize the potential of film photography for me, being a lot of fun, getting beautiful colors in the color palette, and really appreciating photography better. I compared shooting with this camera to like shooting a gun, or it's so fully manual and mechanical. There's no electronics in this camera. I guess there probably are, but I mean in general, compared to an iPhone or even to a digital SLR, it's so much more manual and tactile. And I'll have a video coming up, hopefully, where I talk about Fuji Instax film as well, and how it's a much more tactile experience. And I know some people write it off as a pretty crappy film, but I'm looking at my Fuji camera, my Instax cameras, so I still love them. I'm going to do a video defending Instax film, so watch out for that too eventually. So I hope you liked this video. If it was interesting to you, I hope you stick around and follow this channel, and I hope you like the videos that'll be coming out for you.